right. Testing, 1, 2, 3. Hey guys, Dante here, and welcome back to my channel, The Burgos Art. Ooh, I am loud. Sorry, just adjusting my own audio for myself. Okay, give me a second. I'm going to just raise the music in the back for a bit. All right. So we are doing something we haven't done in quite some time. We are back to the literal drawing table. Well, not really. The drawing table is on the side. This is my work table. What you're looking at is an up close of the center of my work table with a pink silicone mat, great for painting, and in this case, for working with resins. And because everything around it in a square horseshoe, if that makes sense, is an absolute mess, but the center is what we need. So what, as the title suggests, this is a short stream. I'm just going to be showcasing some stuff I'm working on. We're going to open up some castings, open up some molds to show some castings. And we're going to also put one or two in. I'll explain all that in just a minute, but essentially just kind of like showing you what I'm doing, essentially. You know, what I'm up to right now. Now, we're just a little bit of a warning. I had to use my phone for our camera because the webcam I was using just wasn't connecting. Then I realized my phone is super low on battery. It is plugged in. Hopefully the charging will outpace the recording and it won't just die on me. If it does, stay tuned. We might have to use a different camera. But yeah, so let me get myself seated in a good position, get myself something to drink, and then we'll get to it. According to my computer, my phone is broadcasting at a strong 16% battery. So what are we doing today? All right, so let's start from the beginning. I like doing physical sculpture. As some of you might know, if you follow me on Instagram, for example, you have seen that I also have gone into 3D printing. But my 3D printing, my digital sculpting is really rudimentary. It's more mechanical, it's angular. I use SketchUp, which is an architecture program, for the mechanics of what I like to work with. I could sit down and try to learn Blender or ZBrush, but I know myself, I'm trying to learn too many things at once. So I try to focus at least at one thing at a time. So I'm pretty good with SketchUp for mechanical, but for physical stuff, I use clay, I use wax, and then to make copies, I make molds. These are silicone molds of art projects I have done. Sometimes I'll combine the two. So for example, I made a mold of this figurine I found a while back. It's a 5-inch figurine. I made a really trashy mold just to make quick copies. And then I started 3D printing mechanical pieces that I'm sculpting into the frame. So I'm making a human with simple transformation parts. So I just made a mold of a pre-existing toy. I 3D printed a bunch of parts. And then I am inserting those 3D printed parts, those really mathematically correct 3D printed parts. I'm going to sculpt around them, and then once that's done, I'll do a mold of that. This is a toy for another day. But what we have here are more molds of sculptures. So, this, I took an original Game Boy cartridge, made a quick mold of that Game Boy cartridge. Rather than break the Game Boy cartridge, I didn't want to break the cartridge. I made a mold of the Game Boy cartridge, took that copy, and then changed it to be this. This is a Game Boy cartridge with a bite mark in it and a little bit of soft sculpture on top. And once I had that, I did another mold. That's this guy. So this is this. It is a Game Boy cartridge that I've altered with a bite mark. Has a little plug I put, and this is an art piece I made so I can make Game Boys that look like lollipops. You put a stick in it, you put magnets in the two holes, I'll paint it, I'll cut off the excess, and I'm right now stocking up on these lollipop styled, here's one that's cleaned up, lollipop styled Game Boy cartridges that I sell at conventions, as you know, as a parody of a Game Boy. We are using Smoothcast 300. It is a resin, white resin, 2-part, equal part, and it dries in like 15 minutes. I love this stuff. If any one of you have seen, I put a short up on YouTube about how I saw this one person online who used Legos to create what is called a mother mold. It is a solid mold that goes around your soft mold in case your mold is very soft and it wobbles. So I use this square Lego. I've glued it all together. That way this really thin mold, which opens up like a sandwich, is always nice and tight. So this guy's ready to go. So it's all glued together with crazy glue on these guys to help these line up nicely. That way this doesn't flop open and all the liquid flies out. It is a sandwich mold, but rather than do one side and then the other afterwards, I did a solid mold of this sculpture and I carefully cut it down the edges. It was a really simple way to cheat a sandwich mold. Sandwich molds are usually 2 parts that have locking points that come together nice. Since this was a cheap cut version of it, that's why I use a mother mold to hold it together. So I carefully peel it apart. This is just a airway I've cut. That way it doesn't have bubbles, air bubbles getting caught. And there you go. There is my Game Boy cartridge. I will eventually cut off this little block at the end. That's just a little excess amount. I use silicone. It's called Mold Star 15 because it dries like in half an hour to an hour. I also have Mold Star 30, but that dries longer. It is good for like heavier, denser molds. So there's the mold that I just carefully cut open. I place it back inside. Make sure that these two halves are lined up well, but luckily this helps us with that. This helps keep everything, a mother mold is good to keep everything in line like that. Put a rubber band. I'm using just these miscellaneous little tubes to put a little bit more pressure in the center of it to like really kind of squeeze it just a little bit. So here's another mother mold that I this one does have not mother mold, sorry. Here's another silicone mold. This is a legit sandwich mold. I did it in 2 halves and there are locking points inside, but I got rid of the mother mold used to hold it together, so this is being held together evenly by just these popsicle sticks, just enough where it's not squeezing the mold, but enough where stuff won't like leak out. This is for another sculpture, but we'll talk about that later. Oh, sorry guys, get me a drink. I have a bit of like a vanilla shake, protein shake thing. I was just kind of hungry, but couldn't eat during the stream. So I might sound like I'm rambling, forgive me. But essentially, you do your sculpture, whatever your sculpture might be. You make a box around it. You mix your silicone, in this case, 2-part silicone of Mold Star 15. I think it's 15. 15 or 16. I gotta double check that. You pour it in, let it dry. In this case, I actually had to cut it open to get it out. And in this case, I kept the box to ensure that whenever I do another one, it's held nice and tight. Some molds are easy. They're like things like this. So when you pour it on top, all you gotta do is turn it upside down and pour it in there. No big issue. Hey Rex. Hey Rex, good to see you. Always good to see you. Now I do have a little digital weigh that I use when I'm mixing like larger portions, but this guy only takes like 18 milliliters, that is, milliliters. So I just have these syringes I use to get just 9 and 9, which is a lot easier than trying to pour it in exactly 9 on a weigh. And I have them labeled, so I don't, one is always yellow, one is always blue. But after like a good hour or so, or more actually, after like a day or so of using these, I'll then throw them out. Let's get one ready, pour it in, and then we're gonna move on to this big guy, and we'll open him up and see how that guy looks. Where are my gloves? Give me a second, I'm just gonna get my gloves. Safety first, guys. You should wear gloves when using these resins. I mean, they're not like harmful, but they'll dry on your skin, and you know, you wanna just still be safe. So give me a second to get my, to get some things together. I'm totally not using this as an excuse to have a snack. At the end of all of this, I might have a surprise of a project I'm working on that I'll show you as well if it's dried and if it's dry enough and ready to be taken out. All right. Reusing this popsicle stick. The resin's completely dry, so that's fine. Reusing a cup, dry as well. Word of advice. If you're getting into mold making, A, if you're not sure how much material you need to cast something, or even B, just to make sure you don't waste anything, because you could get the measurements exactly right, but you know, for whatever reason, there's a bit more left over. It's good to have spare molds on the side. So I have a flat mold that I use to make a bunch of just a bunch of round platforms. I use these platforms for a number of things, so they're great. Like it's like a 2-inch platform. This purple material is called Oomoo, O-O-M-O-O, Oomoo. It is also a silicone mold, but it's much softer. It's good for simple molds, flat like this. But Mold Star is better for more detailed, like, wraparound. But Oomoo is good for, like, beginners. This one I have as well. In here are several U-shaped tendrils. They're from a little tiny Doc Ock figurine. I say tiny. Kind of along the size of, like, this. Right? Like a Doc Ock figurine about maybe, like, 1.5 inches, 2 inches tall at the most. And I broke them apart because I wanted his tendrils. The tendrils are like specifically larger, that way they stand out more. But they make for like good mechanical tubing when I want to customize a figurine. So I just have a few in here. So once I fill up this last one, we'll open that up too. So it's always good to have this extra on the side. Smooth cast, make sure it's nice and tight. Give it a shake. Nice and tight. Give it a shake. Let me get a tissue. It's always good to have some tissues as well. No matter how clean you keep your table, no matter how clean you think you are, always have a tissue. Okay. That is 9 milliliters. I'm going to give it a shake because I dipped the syringe kind of deep in there. I don't want to have like runoff. I'm really anal. Like, once I get it, close it. Once I get it, close it. Cause, you know, I talk in my hands, so I have a habit of knocking things over otherwise. Alright. Bring that back down to 9 milliliters. I'm scraping off the edges. I'm sorry about this. Is like a really hard top-down video. I don't have a good like area to mount where I could get the camera at an angle and it doesn't just droop. Which is why I'll try as much as I can to like do that and show you guys. Okay, let's pour in our part A, the yellow. Part B, the blue. This stuff goes real quick. I usually count to about 30, even less, because this is actually a much lesser amount. Stir, stir, stir. And then we carefully pour it in. Now, some people have pressure pots in order to get the bubbles out. Yep, see? Even though I have a little bit extra. So it's good to pour the extra into something useful. There we go. So, like I said, some people have pressure pots. I don't, so I'm going to give it a nice little squeeze on the edges. I'm not going to squeeze the center, but just enough so I could give it a little shake. Try and get as many air bubbles out. This is a very thin sculpture. It is a, once again, it is a Nintendo Game Boy cartridge. And those Game Boy cartridges, they're not 2-part epoxy resin. Those are all injection molded. And injection molds, they could go very thin. Anyone who buys D&D figurines, Warhammer figurines, you know, any Gundam figurines, Gunpla, that's all injection mold. And that's high pressure that could get into every fine detail without air bubbles. But when you're pouring it in like I am, I'm pouring this in. So I got to give it a nice shake in hopes of getting rid of all the air bubbles. Okay, so that is going to be about 15 minutes. It is right now 8:25, so we'll stick with 8:25, and we will move on from that. So if it's 8:25, so let's say 30, 35, roughly 40, 8:40. 8:40, we'll crack it open. Maybe we'll wait a little bit. We'll wait a little bit longer than that even. Let me move these up. Okay, let me move some stuff. This right there. Okay, bam. What is this? Alright, so first things first, let's talk about the mother mold. I made the mother mold of this out of Lego. This, I 3D printed because I wanted a mother mold that was round, because this is a round sculpture. So making a square would have just taken up, you know, excess amount of silicone. So it took like 8 hours, no more. This is the big one. Took like 9 or 10 hours per wall to make this. Now, I cheated with this. Once again, this was a cheat. It was one pour of silicone that I then cut down the center. Not all the way down. It opens up with a flap. The base is connected. So I cheated with this. This is not a actual muzzle mold with little anchor points that the two sync together. So to help this round piece line up evenly, you can see the wall has a divot that points out like a little key to ensure that either half of the silicone mold don't shift. They're kind of locked in place. Now I had to like clamp this down with several clamps because this is not a smooth cast cast. This is cast in this big guy, Flex Foam It number 6. So Flex Foam, or rather Flex Foam It, is a series from the same company. This is all Smooth On, by the way. I like Smooth On, really good company. So Flex Foam is a Smooth On product. It is usually 2 liquids. In some cases they're A and B. In some cases they're 2 part B and 1 part A. It depends on what number you get. It is expandable foam that stays soft. So you're talking your bike seat cushions. You're talking foam swords they make for movies. It is expandable foam that stays soft. 6, I got 6. It's referred to as pillow soft. It's good for like cushion. You could get like, I believe, I forget which way it goes. I forget if it's a higher number, it's less dense. You could go super, super lightweight, and it's like really squishy. I aimed for a middle one, but because it expands, you need to be able to really hold it down. Flex foam is a learning process. It pushes out. They usually tell you to put some kind of cap on it with a small air hole. That way it can vent, but it has air pressure to push back in and fill in every nook and cranny. I am trying to run through the last of my Flex Foam It. I still got a bit left. I'm not sure if what I have left is still viable because this stuff can actually expire. It will either harden or the chemical ratio goes weird. Like I had Smooth Cast that was so old, like as soon as I mixed it, it hardened like instantly. Like I couldn't even get it into the mold. I hope this has expanded well. Let's open it up and see what it looks like. This Flex Foam It 6 takes about 2 hours to cure. And even then, that just means in 2 hours you can open it out the mold. But I like to even let it wait a little longer before I give it a good squeeze. Let's see if this came out okay. You can see the divot on either side of it. The way I did these molds, I just did a divot on either side and a plug that's tapered. So they don't really lock into place. They just kind of line up into place. And this was just done in SketchUp, so it works out well. Okay, we're going to slowly open this and hope that this material is doing well. Oh, thank goodness. Ta-da! Oh, that is smooth. Oh, no. There is an air pocket right there. Shoot. We got an air pocket. That's an air pocket. Crud. I might be able to fix that. So, when you fill Flex Foam It into a mold, and you semi-plug it, let a little air come out, but like push it in, that's where it could really push against all the edges and have what they call a clean skin. This is a pretty clean skin. There are like little micro holes in it, but it's still nice and smooth. This is a simple bomb sculpture I did. Right? It's a little bomb sculpture with a little curved wick. I use these along with flexible paint, the kind of paint you use for your fabric. When people draw on their clothes, there's like fabric paint. And I sometimes give these big white eyes, just white eyes. I don't do any other details. And I make the top silver and the wick yellow. and they're meant to be stylized bombs from Mario. They don't got the feet, they don't got the wind-up clock. It's just enough that way someone could use it as like a cosplay accessory. Right now, I think I'm just gonna make a bunch of standard bombs that look enough like bombs, but are legally distinct to sell as cosplay accessories in general. I might be able to use small amounts, let it dry, to fill this hole up for with the flexible paint to make up this piece. We might be able to fix that. It's not horrible. If I have to cut it short, I'll cut it short. It's fine. Yeah, I noticed that this didn't seem to be expanding as much as I expected, and it did come in short. It came in short. I think I need to quickly run through this batch before they lose their quality. But this isn't bad. It's super smooth. We're gonna set that to the side. Where though? I don't got room here. I have another one we're gonna open up, which also seemed to be a bit lacking in its expanding pressure. So it might have ended up the same way. We're gonna see how the other one came out. Give me a moment. Here's another one. This one, so this was the first 3D wall I printed for this. This actually was a bit shorter than I like. So not only do I have to clamp it, I have to strap it down because the bottom is so soft, it like pushes out. The other one you saw is wide. It's longer. So there was a lot more material of the silicone. This is also silicone. It is not the same as this. It's a different brand altogether that I found super cheap. I tried it out. It works well enough. But in a pinch, I would use it. But frankly, I think Mold Star is much better. Okay. Let's see if this one took. Yep, same issue. Well, roughly the same quality. Small micro holes in it, but it still looks good just as a solid bomb. But same issue. It didn't build up enough pressure to completely fill the inside of this. So that was a bit weird. I think a way to fix this is when I do the next batch, I'm going to have to add a bit more than normal. It took me a while to realize how much to add, how much I needed to fill this mold just right without it like blowing up everywhere and just pouring out. This expands 15 times, quote unquote, the amount of the liquid you put in. But it was a learning process. But to make up the difference, I might need to add a bit more, like another milliliter, just to hopefully really get that push. But they're usable. I'm going to use probably whitish silver, it's like a sparkly white fabric paint on what would be the metal top, which is also good because it helps fill in any gaps that might have like had air bubbles. And then I'll use yellow for the wick, but not bad. I have maybe enough paint to do a few more bombs, and then a few just standard bombs like this. This, by the way, is this expands as a white color, so I used just a small sample of this black dye. A little bit goes a long way, and it stains everything. You gotta be super careful. It's a special dye, I believe also made by Smooth On, that is like non-chemical reactive. So you could use it with anything and it won't like mess it up, because this is a resin 1-to-1. You add anything else, if even a little bit of water, moisture gets into this, your mold will expand, your casting will harden and become like a sponge with holes in it, and it ruins it. So I did more black than I did in this one. Sometimes I'll add a little bit of black and a little bit of blue just to give it a bit of a little bit of a more interesting color tone, but not bad. I added a lot more black than I did to this one, but you can see the difference. But they're pretty good. They're pretty good. I am tempted to do another batch and just let it sit for the next 2 hours. I'll go to bed, I'll end the stream, let it just sit there. But to be honest, the setup for this is behind me, and once I pour it in, I have to you know what? No, I could do one right here. This one has to be strapped down, not the other one. I'll do one right here for you guys to see. Let's do that. Why not? This one has a lot more silicone at the base, so I don't gotta strap it down. It doesn't expand outward like the other one did, because this is a denser silicone, so it doesn't like warp as much. So I do have to make some room for myself, but we could do this. Frankenstein clips. Boop. Boop. Gonna move these for a minute. This is doing its thing. Okay, it didn't link out the bottom, which is good. Let's put him here. Put him here, just on the side. All right. So, preparation. In this case, I'm gonna need the weight, because I'm doing a lot more, so it's perfect for these. These aren't deep cups, so I just have my little mixing stick. We have our paint. He is strapped down and ready to go. I have, what are we gonna use? Here we go. I have a little simple Easter egg. I made a hole in the bottom. So this actually has 3 already air vents in it. It has where I pour it in, which is the wick itself. And it has 2 areas of air that come out that help prevent the collar, this collar, from getting air bubbles. There's usually 2 little sticks that come out on either side. So what you're looking at is the big hole, a stick, small hole, small hole. But if I plug the big hole, it builds up enough pressure normally. Which is another thing to learn about casting. If it's a simple cast, if you're just making a mold of that, you pour it around, and when it's done, you basically flip it upside down, and that's where you pour your material into. But if it has complicated edges and corners, you really have to think of how you stand it up, and whether or not you gotta add like toothpicks or cut little channels. You gotta cut channels. Think of think once again of those model kits. Model kits are individual pieces of a character, a Gundam, its weapons, and tons of canals. All the frame isn't just there to hold it in place. The frame is where all the air escapes. I want to say it's 26 milliliters. I have everything written down on a PDF sheet. Give me one moment, guys. Yeah, it's 26. So we're gonna do 27 milliliters. You take your stuff and you shake them. Especially the silicone. Word of advice, if you're using Mold Star, whatever, 16, 30, 15, whatever it is, the, I think it's the blue one, the white half of the mix, you sometimes gotta scrape the bottom in the canister. You gotta get in there with a stick, because it settles so densely, no matter how much you shake it, nothing's gonna come out. If you're not, you know, and also, things people don't think about. This cup has a weight to it, this little plastic cup. So always make sure you put it on, you hit tear. Now it's at 0. Because then it throws off all your measurements otherwise. Let's go. Okay, I think I did more than I needed. Yeah, I was like 36. $32. Just point it right back into the container. $29. Come on, baby. $28. Come on. $27. Give it a second to settle to make sure that number doesn't change. Good. 27. I'm trying to close the top. It's also good to wipe the top, wipe the threads on the bottle, because this stuff will dry around the top, especially the yellow side. The yellow side, the A side of all of these always is the one that dries the most. So you got to make sure you wipe the edges here around it, because otherwise your top's gonna get caught next time you try to take it off. I'm trying to shake that glue. Shake it. Earlier, I went in there with a paint stirrer to try and scrape the bottom, because I have no idea how dense it is at the bottom. Because then the one thing I hate the most is when if you don't do that, it'll settle at the bottom, and you don't realize it's in there, and then you end up, every time you do the measurement correctly, by the time you're done, you always end up with a container that seems empty and a container that still has some in it, and it's like, you feel like you've made a mistake somewhere. I think I did definitely more than I needed. That's 44. The blue half is really dense. Okay. 36. $29. Come on, baby. 27. Give it a minute to settle. Yup, it's still 27. Okay. So for this, I'm going to try a little difference in the color. You know what? Let's do red. Because when in Mario, when the bombs get angry, they turn red. So even if I don't do the little face on this guy and turn him into a bomb, even if I just sell it as red, it's nice. Or if I only add a little bit of the red into the white half of this, and yes, I know what it looks like, you dirty, dirty people. As it expands and more mass takes over the pigment, it'll be pink. And a pink bomb's kind of cute. So I'm just dipping a little bit of that red. Very little. I'm going to stir it in. I pre-stir the pigment. I don't mix and then try to stir the pigment. Get the pigment into one side. Ooh, I think my headphone's about to die on me. Dang. I thought that was charged up enough. It doesn't matter. I'm just listening to myself talk, to be honest. But yeah, so there's your pink. And then we gotta move quick. Once again, it's an epoxy material, so once it starts going, it will start expanding. So I need to get it into a small space before it expands. I scrape as much as I can on the edge. Some people go from one cup to the other. I just mix all from one cup to the other. I don't go back and forth because I don't got time for that. And then stir, stir, stir. You scrape the edges to make sure you're getting every amount of both chemicals to work together. Oh God, my Bluetooth headphones are beeping in my ear. Okay. Okay, so I'm gonna go quick. As a thin. Nice and thin stream. That way it all pours into my mold. It's getting kind of slimy. It's already starting to do its thing. So I gotta help it along out of the cup. Let me see if I can scrape the edges. Pour it in. Scrape the edge. Get it in there. Come on. Okay. Hopefully it's making its way down. Yes, headphone. I know headphone. We got a second or two before it pops out. If it makes it that far. Hopefully it will. So I'm just going to put this right here. And just hold that. Now hopefully adding just a little bit extra will allow it to expand and really fill in all the nooks and crannies I want it to. I'm going to turn off my so I turned off my headphones. I turned off my Bluetooth, and I don't want to put in my earphones because I have too many wires hanging around me right now. So I'll keep an eye on the side here in case any messages pop up. I have to visually see the message pop up rather than hear the audio cue that says, "Hey, someone's talking to you." It's not as if we get much chatter here, but the chatter we do get, we do appreciate. You can see how easily that red paint, that red pigment, like just a drop will do you and it gets everywhere. So it's good to wear gloves. The shirt I'm wearing is an old shirt that I use for painting. The pants I'm wearing are a pair of old work pants that don't fit me no more. So, you know, you dress for the occasion. And this occasion, it's to make a mess. Like I said, usually after like a minute or two, it'll start to like bubble or fizzle, if you would. It'll go like a weird soda pop, and it's supposed to pop out to the top. Like, given the amount I put in, given the amount it expands, if it pops out even a little bit, that means we've hopefully gotten all the air bubbles out. But for all we know, my particular batch of Flex-It foam could be going out, so it's not expanding as well as it can. But it's still coming out clean though. You know, like we saw the other two. The other two came out nice and clean. It just didn't get the air pressure I wanted. So we're hoping. Sometimes it goes real quick. Sometimes it takes a few minutes. But you could kind of see in here what was left. The little bit that's left, it expanded. It did, in fact. It's pushing and pushing. I just don't know why it's not pushing as hard as it should in here. I don't know how well that comes on camera. But yeah, even just a little bit at the bottom, it's kind of fizzed up into a sponge. Like I said, I've noticed with the primarily with the smooth cast, the white resin, as it starts to reach the end of its pot life, its reaction time goes much quicker. I don't know, guys. I mean, we know it's expanding, but it's not. We know it's expanding because this is, but it's not pushing out to the top the way it should. It's kind of worrisome. I'm gonna dip my head in here. You're gonna see my bald spot. Yeah, it should have pushed out by now. Should have, could have, would have. But hey, that's the process. Part A, part B. In this case, it's an even amount. If you're going to add color, mix it beforehand in one of them rather than try to mix all three at the same time. Make sure you're using a company brand pigment that is built for this, because if you just use food coloring, that's a water-based material. It will ruin the mold. Not the mold. It will ruin the casting. Like, it won't solidify. You are basically contaminating the chemical reaction. I'm gonna move him to the side now. We won't open it. You guys are not gonna see this tonight. That's 2 hours from now. It is already 8:55, 8:54 actually. So I say we're good to open up this guy. Taking my gloves off because I don't want to get red pigment on everything. All right. Once again, those are just extras I put to kind of get pressure on the side. Just a little pressure. I need to get new rubber bands. A lot of rubber bands I have are snapping. I wouldn't want to put a clamp on this, like the spring-loaded clamp you saw over there, because that would squeeze the mold too much. But if you have ones that are adjustable to get it nice and flat, that also works well. If you don't have a muzzle mold, but you have, I don't know, 2 pieces of thin wood or plywood, you could put that on either side of your mold as well with clamps, if it's a sandwich mold. Go to your local thrift store. Just get a bunch of Legos. If you haven't seen the short video I did on YouTube, basically I go to a bunch of thrift stores. I find like off-brand Legos. They have like ones that's called blocks or whatever, but they're all Legos pretty much. Just bought a bunch of bags because families throw out a bunch of bags of those. Then I organize into these. I have several plastic bottles with different lengths, different widths, different whatever. I organize them like that. That way, whenever I gotta do a mold, I just have them on hand. These like 5 bottles of Legos of different lengths, individual, single ones, and you make your custom box. Or you could take foam board, go to any kind of craft store, foam board, you cut those into the box you need, hot glue the corners. I'll tell you right now, there's many molds I have lost because I didn't hot glue it properly. But you hot glue the corners, just make a box. I like using these. I make the Legos. I give just a simple light brushing of Mod Podge or even just basic like Elmer's glue. Not enough to hold it all together, but enough to seal all the different cracks. And if you're doing a denser liquid, such as silicone, it works just fine. You paint it lightly on the side, put it on some kind of base, then hot glue that to the base on the outside, in my opinion, not underneath it. And pour it in. Take your time. Take your time doing this. Take your time making your mother mold. Because if you don't, it will break open. It will spill out. It has happened to me. It's happened to my buddy Rex in the chat. It's happened to all of us. Even though silicone's pretty, you know, sturdy, I still open it nice and slow. So this, once again, is just a square, like a toothpick that I put on there. I gently glued it. The way I did this, I gently glued a toothpick. I really lightly glued a little piece of, like a little wooden block. I stuck it like this, made a box around it, and then poured it in because I needed this to be hollow. So I poured that in first, because you're working backwards. It hardened. You turn it upside down. There's my pour point, where I pour it in. There's a hole for that drain. And inside there is the little opposite of this. These walls are super thin. And sometimes there'll be a little air bubble here and there. But that's fine, because it's meant to be like a lollipop. So if there's an air bubble, I purposely sand it away. And, you know, I make indents. I purposely make it imperfect. That's waste. I sometimes keep them on the side because they're good to be reused as other like channels for other pieces. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Oh God, I just said that. Thank God I don't have a chat full of freaking like 14-year-olds. Yes, I said 14-year-olds, and I know it's a younger thing, but I still said it. Okay. And our spare is kind of filled up, so let's open it up and check those out too. This, once again, was I took a bunch of U-shaped tendrils, glued them onto a board, put them in a box, filled it up. Then I cheated by just simply cutting in between the U's. So there's one. Gently open it, gently. I don't want to tear anything. Come on. There's number 2. And then that's number 3. You still want to be careful taking it out because, you know, you don't want to break your cast. Here we go. Just these like Doc Ock metal tendrils. I like having copies of these because they make good for like good piping or good like actual like tendrils on a robot. I could glue them together, do some sculpting to make it look like a tendril that's like snaking around, add some claws to the end of it. I just like having like extra little bits. I have an entire box of pretty much these, which are backup pieces. So whenever I'm doing a mold, whenever I'm doing a casting, I have an extra. So I have a whole box full of these. I have a whole box of, in that same box, 1-inch circular platforms. This is a different type of mold. This is urethane. It's pretty much a rubber band. It's the same stuff as rubber bands, pretty much. Urethane is really good because it's not as chemical reactive as silicone to certain sculptures. If you sculpt with plastilina or any kind of sculpture that has sulfur in it, silicone will not like it. Urethane does, but the trade-off is that urethane is much rougher, and it's harder to get it's harder to get your cast out of it. While silicone pops it right out. It has like a smoothness to it. So good for easy to remove castings. Good based on what material you sculpt in. I'm gonna put these away. I'm gonna actually put them away to charge right now. Where did I put? There it is. Too many wires, guys. I got wires up the wazoo. I'm covered and surrounded by wires. I look like a '90s supervillain who's like in a lab with like 15 TV screens and just mechanical wires everywhere. Stand by. Okay. Now I said this was going to be a short stream. I'm going to do one more, right? I'm going to do one more of this for now. And then I'm going to go into my fridge. I have a mold. I'll explain when I pull it out. But rather than resin, I poured into this mold wax. A very soft wax, to be honest. So I stuck it in the freezer to give it as much of a hardness as possible. Hopefully by now it is like rock hard. But let's do one more. I'll pull that out and that'll be kind of the surprise for the end. Oh, by the way, this is also a last minute mold. Because not only should you have molds in case you have too much resin and you don't want to waste it, you should also pre-make a mother mold with something random. A figurine gun, a little head, a jewel, something you think you could use in the future in case you make too much silicone and you got to pour it out. So I was like, oh no, I got too much silicone. This thing's going to dry in like 15 minutes. So I pulled out. I hold on to everything, guys. Forgive me. This is just one of those creamer cups. I have a box of these, a box of creamers, that is. And I started saving them because I realized when I'm mixing my airbrush paint, mixing it in a small cup to then pour it into the airbrush itself was way better than putting it into this, because I would put it into this and by the time I pour it out, it would halfway dry. I have a whole bunch of these. Anyway. Let's give it a this. So I grabbed one of these and I took a figurine I had. I forget what they're called, but remember a while back, they had these figurines where they were all the Marvel superheroes, but they were like chibi with like 3 fingers. There was even a cartoon about it. But they also made the same style figurines for Indiana Jones characters. They were these little like about yay big. Ah, here we go. Boom. This is the guy from Indiana Jones. Pretorius Rex. Who's Indy's friend? I always forget his name. I am the monarch of the sea. He's the one who grabs who saves him from eating the poisoned dates. And he goes, bad dates. And you see the monkey's dead in the background? This guy. So I grabbed one of these figurines. And because I've been thinking of doing a fan art of a particular artist I follow. But I want to do a sculpture of his character. But this artist happens to draw his characters with 3 fingers. So I took him, stuck him on, I just put his foot into a piece of clay. That way he stood like this. With his hand in here. And I made a mold of it. So if I have any extra, I pour it in there and I got pop out a little like Mickey Mouse 3-fingered hand. Just so yeah, that way when I finally get a chance to do the fan art of this character, of the character I want to do, it is the character Irma. If you haven't seen Irma, E-R-A-M. No, sorry. Irma, yeah, E-R-M-A. Is a lovely black and white kind of Addams Family dark comedy, not dark comedy, sorry, but like a family that's weird and kooky and kind of mysterious and spooky. Is about a little girl who's essentially the girl from The Ring. So, no, or rather 7 Days, a girl from 7 Days who comes in and out the TV. She's a little ghost girl of Japanese descent. And it's just her everyday life, going to school, making friends, but she has these like supernatural powers. It's called Irma, E-R-M-A. Really cute comic. It's been around for a while. Really good artist. All his work is in black and white, and he manages to do these beautifully detailed city scenes or crowd scenes, and nothing ever gets really lost. Hispanic artist as well, which is, personally, I think that's really cool. And I want to do an homage to a few of his characters. So yeah, long story short, Have a backup in case you make too much resin or too much silicone. Have something you want to mold. Have something you want to cast. Back to the show, people. Putting on some gloves again. We have our syringes. What's his name? Is it Aziz? I want to say Aziz is his name, or maybe I'm saying it incorrectly. For those of you who don't know who I'm talking about, think Gimli. It's Gimli from Lord of the Rings. It's that one scientist from freaking Sliders. That's a deep cut. That guy, that actor. No, maybe I'm mixing. No, I think I may be mixing it up. Sorry, I don't know if it's the same actor for all three. I could be mixing those up. Please forgive me if I am. Let's put another one in. Upside down. Like I said, silicone releases very well whatever you put into it, whatever kind of casting material you put into it. If it's resin or flex it foam. If you are using urethane rubber, which is this stuff, right? The urethane rubber, you need a release agent. Basically something, it's kind of like putting Pam spray into a pot. It coats the mold so you can then release it. There's a number of sprays used specifically for mold release. In fact, some of them are just called mold relief. You spray the inside, brush it on all the nooks and crannies, let it dry for a second. It leaves a little layer. If you want to make a silicone copy of something and you have only a silicone mold, you definitely need to put some kind of release agent because silicone will stick to silicone. So if you're doing a sandwich mold in which you do one side of the mold first, paint something in there, like, spray it with mold release. Hell, I even use a very thin layer of glue in my silicone mold before I poured the second half. That way the two of them were able to separate. You need a thin layer between the two because you will just, it's like mixing concrete on top of concrete. They will just adhere to each other. Hey, take this for example. This some of you might have seen my streams in the past. I 3D designed and 3D printed like a cookie cutter, like a plastic mold that you could push down on Play-Doh, and when you take it off, it makes these little like bugs on a disc. I don't know how well that is in focus. It's a little roach on a disc. So I have a 3D printed mold of that, and then I went. And I was like, you know what? I want to make some copies. So I put some silicone in there. I have a rubbery silicone copy. I pushed like Crayola play foam in there, which just air dries. That was kind of hard to pull out because it's really soft, like a dough. I got a soft one here. It's like a soft clay. And then I also pushed in Sculpey. What is it? What is that called? It's stand by. It is known as polymer clay. There we go. I also pushed in some polymer clay and carefully pulled that out. So with a hard mold, I was able to put silicone, foam, clay, and take it out. But when you're mixing a hard mold with a hard casting, there's a chance it'll crack. If you're doing a soft mold with a soft casting, there's a chance it'll get stuck in there. It's a back and forth issue. All right, let's get it done, people. Oh, as I lean off scene and almost break my back. Give it a little shake. Get the excess amount off. There's a small bubble in there, but it's not enough to throw off our measurements too poorly. So that'll be okay. I'm gonna tighten that nice and tight. There we go. I'm gonna put this away. When you're done with it, put it away. You can buy these. They call them. These are called like the sample packs, but they're pretty good. You could buy these at like Utrecht or Bleck, whatever it's called. Michael's Art and Craft doesn't carry these usually. This brand anyway. Smooth On. It's a Smooth Cast 300 fast setting white. They do have a Smooth Cast with a different number that's pigmentable, which means you add the pigment and it takes the color perfectly. If I add pigment to this, it would of course tint it more white towards it. Red becomes pink, blue becomes light blue, etc. Mixed ratio 1A, 1B by volume. That's that. I was in a secondhand store. I've mentioned this before. There's a secondhand store near me that it's one of those stores where I think it's like an Amazon or eBay return store or whatever. And you know, a lot of times it's just like Christmas decorations and whatnot. But you'll find a bunch of stuff. That I found a giant box of like 200 of those like syringes. Heck, I even found I found Smooth On products there unopened. So like, check out your local secondhand store. A lot of people are doing that now, where they're opening up businesses where they just they sell like the return crates from Amazon, and it's nuts, but it works. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That should be fine for this small amount. They say you should pour it up from high in a thin stream to help reduce air bubbles. Okay. Speaking of air bubbles, I'm just going to add the last of it right here. Because this resin adheres to itself as well. So if you mix and you realize it's not enough, and you got to mix another like, I don't know, 2, 3, 4 milliliters, you could do that and it will adhere to itself, especially while it's still curing. I'm wiping these off. By tomorrow, this liquid might dry on the inside, so these might be useless anyway, but hey, waste not, want not. I'm gonna squeeze on the edges here and just keep tapping. Sorry. And like I said, you guys can't see the mess that's around this pink mat we're working on. It's organized in that I could work here, but it is quite a mess. I have like so many offcuts, like, you know, like these resin tendrils over here to the right side of the screen. I got like a whole cup here of just offcuts. I got projects like the figurine I showed you earlier, the little like superhero figurine that I'm gonna customize. It's okay to have way too many projects on your table. If you're an artist and you're like, I got so many projects, make a list. Make a list of all the projects. Maybe get shoe boxes. That way you could keep everything related to that project in a shoe box, and then put it to the side, and then focus on like, okay, these are the projects. This 1 or 2 projects are the ones I think I should focus on. They have a deadline. It's for a birthday. Maybe I want to sell copies of it. Focus on those. But then when you get burnt out, you could take a minute and you could go back to another project. If you're someone who likes sculpting or painting or like working with your hands on small things, just keep all those little projects organized, and you can always just basically return to them whenever you want. They're always going to be there. All right. Gonna leave this here so I can see it turn white in real time. I'm stacking all of these to the side over here for now. I'm taking my tendrils, gonna add it to our excess bucket for later. And it is right now 9:17. Let's say roughly 9:35 we'll open this. But let me show you what I have cooking. I'll show you what's cooking good looking. Stand by. Okay, guys. This is a cup. I have a whole stack of cups here. I hold on to everything. In it is a mold. What mold is it? It is this mold. In a secondhand store recently, I came across an open box of 2 of these. These are, yes, the Trump, the dumpster Trump himself, ice cubes. They were $1 each, and I realized I want to make a project with it. Not a project I'll sell, just something to kind of like vent my anger for myself. I would never try and make money off of this jerk in any way possible. I don't care. So I have that, and I also came across a bag of skulls. Little skulls. They're not even for a necklace. There's no hole in them. They're just little skulls, I guess for decoration. So I took red wax. To be precise, this is Baby Bell wax, cheese wax. Whenever I buy Baby Bells at the store and I eat them, I used to roll the wax into a ball and put them into a jar. And one day I realized I had an entire jar of it, like that big. So I took that wax, melted it down, cleaned anything that was out of it, and put it all into ice cube trays. So I just have a whole stock of like really soft, easy to melt, easy to sculpt, cheap wax. It's not really good for longevity, but for a quick small sculpture that I could just leave in the fridge and then take it out and then make a mold off of it, it's perfect. So in this sculpture of Trump are a bunch of tiny skulls. I just hope I could take this off without damaging the sculpture itself. Oh my god, look at that. Look at, I don't know if the detail is coming across this camera. Look at that ugly mug. You could see a little bit of the plastic skull right there. Right? That came out way better than I thought. There's a little air bubble here and there. I don't care. It's not meant to be perfect. You can see a little bit of white of the skull here and there. What am I going to do with this? Well, first, I might use some airbrush paint. And I'm going to airbrush skin tone. I'm going to airbrush his hair. And then, well, have you guys ever seen the ending of Indiana Jones? The first film? You know the ending. I might do a short video. Well, it's going to be a sped up video. In honor of just how horrible this man is. So I'm going to stick this back to the fridge. Well, first, let's, it's super soft wax. Let's, cut off the excess amount here. Let's cut off this excess amount, just to give him a solid base to stand on, and that's it. Yeah. I'm gonna do a little video project. So stay tuned for that. That's gonna be real interesting. I try to leave politics out of my artwork. I don't sell political artwork. I don't make money off political artwork. I don't post political stuff on my art related social media. I don't post that. My artwork is meant for joy, creativity, and passion to spread positive feelings. Because that's what artwork can, not that it has to do that, but artwork can do that. And I try to do that. This is a personal project that should also be quite funny. He's going back into the fridge. Oh, if only we could fridge certain people. Okay, give me a second. I'm just gonna check one or two things. Hey, good. Our music's still playing. I do plan to add a lot more to that playlist. Fun fact, even though it is a Tupac, it's Tupac. Even though it's a two-part epoxy resin, which means that once the two chemicals meet, they should just start reacting. The more of it, the quicker the reaction. So if you pour it into a big cup, it will actually start to turn white at its core and then hard on the outside. But since there's only a little bit in here, it takes longer. You can see it turning white here because it's more of the material. But in here, it's only a little bit turning. It's weird. They both harden at the same rate, roughly 15 minutes. They both harden with the same ratio, but it's more apparent when it's a larger amount. It just from the center, it gets cloudy and turns white outward. But from the top, guys, you take your sculpture, whatever it may be, something simple such as this, for example. You glue it down to a board. You make a frame around it. It could be cardboard, cardstock. I use Legos that I gently paint on the edge with glue, just enough to seal up the seams to give me the exact shape I want. You choose your mold of choice. It could be a urethane rubber, which in that case, you should also spray your sculpture with a release agent, something that coats it to make it easier to take the urethane off. Or you could use silicone. There's different types. This is, once again, Mold Star 15. I keep saying 15. It could be 16. It dries quickly. It's a two-part. Mix two parts. Stir them really good. Scrape the edges of the cups. And you gently pour it. You don't pour it on top of your sculpture. Most people pour a thin stream around it and allow it to fill up to get rid of any air bubbles. If it's a complicated sculpture, let it sit, let it dry. If it's simple like this, you just take away your walls, you take away the base it's attached to, and when you flip it over, you have your sculpture. You pour it right in. If it's a complicated sculpture with angles and details, like this was, once it was done, knowing where the flat parts of the sculpture was, I cut a seam down the edges. Not all the way to split it completely, just enough to kind of butterfly it. And I make a sandwich mold. One that could easily be put back together. And in this case, I kept the muzzle mold. I did not dismantle it. That way it's always lined up perfectly within this rectangular box. In other cases, you could do a sandwich mold in which you fill it up on one side. So let's say you have this, and let's say you put screw, you could put anything. It could be like a bean, it could be a screw. You put something, little bumps around it inside the box, fill it up, and when you turn it over and remove the base it was attached to, you have this, and you have indents where the bumps were, which act as plugs. So when you pour the second half of your mold, you make a sandwich mold that when it separates, has interlocking parts. Always use mold release when doing a two-part mold. Otherwise, it's going to stick together and you're going to end up with a brick. Wear your gloves. Epoxy resins are pretty safe, but wear your gloves. Wear a gas mask if you wish. Have a clean, look at this mess. Have a clean open space around you to work with. And it's always good to have extra molds when you're casting. If you're not sure of the measurement, that we just add the extra somewhere else. Or to have something small and minute off to the side to be molded if you make too much mold material. That way you can make a simple, like, little mold. Last minute molds. And that is our video for today, guys. I'm trying to pad out the time. It's only 9:27. But this guy's not going to be ready for another like 10 minutes or so. So anyway. These are my Nintendo lollipops. They have a bite mark in them. Game Boy. They're Game Boys. For those of you who don't know, back in my day, we had little cartridges that we stuck into a big-ass freaking handheld. Big-ass cartridge and a big-ass handheld. Game Boy cartridges with a bite mark in it and a smooth, gooey center. I have a little hole there, so I actually put a lollipop stick into it. I paint them. I put a sticker of, whatever Game Boy cartridge people like to see. And I'll be selling these at conventions. Speaking of which, all the way in August, it's a bit time off from now, but all the way in August, I will be at Long Island Retro Gaming. I got a table there. It is a 3-day event. If you like retro games, and don't forget, retro still includes like the Wii U, freaking like PlayStation 4 now. Like the 2000s is retro. Retro gaming is a great convention. You could buy a ticket, go there, and play free video games all day. Right? I mean, they have panels and stuff, but like they just have consoles and CRT TVs for those consoles, Nintendo, Sega Genesis, you name it. They have free gameplay. They have an entire room of arcade games that are Japanese arcade games. If you never played a Japanese arcade game, they're meant to be they're shorter. You sit down at them. You don't stand at them. And they have expanded to, the location they're in is in the Cradle of Aviation in Long Island, which means it's a museum of helicopters and airplanes and aviation. It's really cool. They have expanded the convention to take up more floors in the museum. That means we're going to see lots of more games. You're going to see lots of retro games, prototypes, indie games, panels, free play, and of course, artists selling their wares and people selling games. Which reminds me, Pretorius Rex, if you're still listening, next time you're at my house, we're going to play Mario Party 8 on the Wii. I bought Mario Party 8 on the Wii. I want to play games that break up friendships, and that's going to be one of them. And I say that is that, everyone. And so, yeah. Let's wrap this up. This video is going to be up on Instagram. I say Instagram. This video is going to be up on Twitch for about a week. This video would then be up permanently on my YouTube channel, The Burgos Art. D-A Burgos Art. That is me on all social media. You're talking the media formerly known as Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram. I'm on Facebook. Not much has been updated there, but I am on Facebook. I'm on DeviantArt, even though a lot of artists have jumped ship. I'm on DeviantArt. Just type in D-A Burgos Art. You will even find my website, theburgosart.com, which has a few small galleries and portfolio pages. Check out my stuff. Give me a like, give me a follow, all that nice stuff, of course. Speaking of which, once again, guys, I am Dante. Like, share, favorite, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And I'll see you in the future. Later!